Hello, my name is Rich Young, and I'm the lead programmer for Team Demon. The other members of the team are Corey Provost, the level designer and programmer, and Hugh Cotter, the graphic artist. Last month I showed you our game, A Demon's Quest, in its alpha phase, but today I'm very excited to show you the finished product. The first thing I'm going to do in this video is walk you through the controls and the tutorial, and then I'll show you a full playthrough of the game, with some significant skips to save on time. In part 2 of the video, I'll discuss some of the changes we've made since the alpha playthrough, as well as the art style, playtesting results, and an example of how some of the code functions. For now, we're going to start by jumping right into the game. The first thing the tutorial explains is how to use the pause menu. You can move using the WASD or the arrow keys, or the gamepad's left thumbstick, and you can aim with the mouse or the right thumbstick. Use the middle mouse button or the gamepad's right bumper to do a melee attack. Use the left mouse button or the gamepad's right trigger to shoot with your staff. Use the right mouse button or the gamepad's left trigger to shoot using a tome. Press the spacebar or the gamepad's A button to open a door. And once your energy is full, you can press the G key or the gamepad's left bumper to use your ultimate ability. Enemies will drop soul items that will fill up this energy gauge, so keep an eye out for those. Now that the tutorial is complete, we can start fighting this cultist. He can summon a skeleton every few seconds and can have up to 3 active summons at a time, so focus your fire on him and then all of his summons will die with him as well. We've skipped ahead a bit to get into the main hall of the game world. Again, the best strategy is to go after the cultists first. The melee attack can help a lot with dealing damage quickly to them, especially when they're trying to run away. The door that you can just barely see to the right here leads to the end of the game, but it's sealed, so we've got to check out one of the other 3 branching paths. We're going south to the brown corner. This is where the earth demon is found, but there's also the water demon in the blue corner and the shock demon in the yellow corner. Of course, you are the flame demon and you started in the red corner. For the most part, I'm only showing off the major areas of the game here, but there are other rooms and hallways connecting them all together. This is an example of one hallway in the brown corner, which just has some skeletons and bats in it. It's not very difficult to handle without any cultists, and with a rectangular-shaped room like this. I've stocked up on tomes already, and I'm hoping that I can get some energy to fuel my ultimate ability. There we go. Okay, now this is one of the 3 bosses that you can fight. They're all pretty much exactly the same. There are 3 phases. The first phase is when he's got over 2/3 of his health left. In this phase, he'll just follow you around and fire missiles. He can also summon cultists, which can in turn summon skeletons. When he gets under 2/3 of his health, he goes into the second phase, where he starts to charge at you and do a melee attack. This can be countered by using a missile or a melee attack to knock him away from you. Now I'm going to lure him into a trap with my ultimate ability. This should deal massive damage to him and the skeletons, and now that he's got less than 1/3 of his health left, he'll start to fire off his ultimate ability. I'll just use a couple tomes here to take him down, and pick up this key to refill my health and my tomes. For the sake of saving time in this video, I've already beaten the other 2 bosses and collected their keys as well. So, once all 3 are defeated, all that's left is to get back to the door in the main hall. Currently, that's the end of the game. You've successfully defeated the cult and the other 3 horsemen, and you've even escaped with your life, unleashing the flame demon onto the world. A lot of things have changed since the alpha playthrough last month, and I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss some of the big ones. Through playtesting conducted in the last few weeks, it was found that the game was too difficult for some players and too easy for others, and because of this, the easy, normal, hard menu was added to the game. Selecting different options here alters many stats throughout the game, including enemy health, damage dealt, and movement speed. Another change that was made as a result of playtesting was to the music and sound effects. Previously, the game had very upbeat electronic music and arcadey sound effects, but we found that people generally wanted creepy sounds instead. Because of that, the music and several sounds were changed, and the enemies were also given idle sounds to play at random intervals. This not only contributes to a creepy atmosphere, but also enables the player to find out if there are any enemies left in the room just by listening for a few seconds. A couple of other things that we changed based on playtesting feedback include item drop rates and controls. We've also got new textures for the demons now, which is a faceless humanoid that looks sort of ragged. This is to emphasize the main character's enslavement and eventual rise to power, and to leave room for equipable armor in a future update. The other three demons look exactly the same, but are colored differently. The skeletons have new textures as well, as do all of the HUD elements. The cursor icon was changed from a crosshair, which was hardly visible, to this animated staff. There are 4 little orbs that circle around the staff. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 yellow, and 1 brown. This subtle detail illustrates the relationship between the 4 demons who share the same colors. There have also been several other graphical improvements. For example, there are new particle effects, there's a bloody texture on the screen when you're low on health, and there's even a new original title screen. It all comes together with the sound and the level design to make this story of a demon gone rogue really come alive and challenge the player. In addition to the changes made as a result of playtesting and the new textures, there have been 3 other major updates as well. First of all, we've added a lighting system into the game. This is done by drawing a semi-transparent shadow texture over the screen, then using an alpha mask to cut holes out of the shadow to create light. The objects that can produce such lights are the player, some enemies, any dropped items, and torches. We felt that this was a good way to make a creepier atmosphere, to highlight points of interest, and to allow enemies to potentially sneak up on the player in the shadows. Next, we've added an ultimate ability to the player and the 3 demon bosses. This ability creates a sort of whirlpool that deals constant damage to anything it touches. In order to use the ultimate, the player must collect 3 souls to fill up the energy bar at the top right, then press the button. The bosses will fire several of them off in rapid succession, but only when close to death. We felt that this was a good way to add some more variety to combat and to give the player another system of risk and reward to enhance their experience. In the future, we plan to give each character a unique ultimate power, corresponding to the elements flame, water, earth, and shock. Lastly, we've also added some tutorial messages and story dialogues to the game as well. When you start a new game, it asks if you want to do the tutorial or skip right into the game. If you do the tutorial, a series of messages will come up to explain the controls to you. The messages will show either keyboard and mouse or gamepad controls, depending on whether or not a gamepad is plugged in. There are also a couple lines of voice-acted dialogue to go along with the tutorial, as well as for key story events throughout the game. We felt that this was critical to explain the controls and the story to the player, while keeping things immersive and fun. And personally, I think the voice actor, Corey's brother Kyle Provost, matches perfectly with the atmosphere. Now we've nearly reached the end of the video, but there's one last thing I'd like to do, and that's to take a look at how some of the code works. In the Tutorial Manager class, we've created a list of tutorial phases, starting with initializing and ending with finished. And we've also created a new data structure to hold the data for each of these phases, called phase data. Then, in the constructor, we use this data structure to set up the tutorial, which is really just a series of messages and dialogue lines. Here we're creating a new set of phase data. The first value is the delay. That means that the game will wait 1 second before starting this phase. The next line is the name of the voiceover to be played and the corresponding subtitles. Next is the title of the message box that shows up. Then, the next 2 paragraphs are the tutorial messages, one for keyboard and mouse, and one for gamepad. The Tutorial Manager automatically uses the data set here to pop up the series of messages and dialogues that is the in-game tutorial. That's all that I have to share with you today. The game is pretty much complete now and should be available to the public within the next few days at most. In the coming weeks, various minor updates will be made in our spare time, and then over the summer a much bigger update is sure to be in the works. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video, and that you'll try out our game, A Demon's Quest, available soon for download at www.staticrich.com. If you do, please let us know what you think. Any comments, questions, suggestions, or criticisms are welcome. Thanks a lot for watching.